Hello there folks and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellest Guy. Today we are going to be making maps. Specifically, we're going to be taking our first steps into the Everdark, which is basically Tellest's version of the Underdark from the Forsaken Realms and the Underworld from Ultima and things like that. It's just, basically a subterranean world that exists beyond what we typically see. We haven't really played with it too much in the stories just yet, but we do know that the Delver race comes from the Everdark, and we have at least one really cool Delver character that we've introduced so far, so we know that she came from there. What we're going to do is we're going to look at an existing Underdark Inkarnate piece that somebody else has done in the past, and we're going to try to kind of take what they've done and instill some of our own kind of feeling into that with the custom map size that we usually use. So let's we'll get cracking with this. We're going to go back and forth a little bit. Let's see. So one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is everything that you see here on this person's map has been flattened to the background. So there's not too much that you can use. While we have the lights here and things like that, I think there's a couple of things that they have. They have like you can see like the Titan skulls and things like that, but most of it's lights. What we're actually going to do is just lock that down so that when I'm moving things around, I'm not causing all kinds of problems. Right, so at this point, I can't grab anything. I'm just trying to zoom in, make sure that I see, the things that I'm looking at, make sure I get a good feel for, what we're trying to build out. So there's going to be a couple of main points that we're going to kind of emulate from this person's style. I like the tile set that we have here because it's kind of like a juxtaposition of a little bit of, not man-made, but being made, constructed, whatever going on, and then it kind of fades into this more natural subterranean that we'll put together. So we're going to use the tiles for sure. We'll play with that. We've done caverns where we have this kind of gray look before, and we certainly used these terrain tiles and things like that. So we're going to do things like that to try and give what we're working on a little bit of a sense of height and things like that. We want to make it so that it's not all level. What we're going to do first is let's see if we can't find some of those cliffs to use just to kind of frame out. Whew, my computer does not like me today. So we've got these core cliffs, which I'm pretty sure are what we have in that other person's map. So I'm pretty sure what these guys are. I think very likely that they changed the color scheme to better reflect the underground look and everything. So let's check. Mess with the saturation a little bit. Brightness, probably go down. They could have a filter over this kind of stuff too. It's very tough to kind of put together a good idea of like what someone's done before when they've got things like that locked down. It's hard enough when I'm doing things that I've done before. So we're going to maybe check the hue a little bit. They have kind of like that bluish look. That color right there actually is a really nice fit, I think. So we've got a couple of different style cliffs that we can use. I'm going to try and just move this around so that it has kind of a more natural kind of feel to it. We know that for what I'm trying to do, we're going to have these kind of like framed out on the sides, because what I'm trying to do is make kind of like an opening. Because in my mind, what we're doing is we're bringing stuff up from the north and we're going to have things kind of open up down here. So we're just going to keep on playing with this for a little bit just to get in the right spot for things. Let's maybe change the direction of those a little bit. I don't really know. Does he use any of those narrow pieces like that? Or she? No, it looks like they pretty much avoid those. They don't really serve too much of a purpose for what they were trying to do. So let's do this. Let's get rid of that there. We'll get rid of this one up there. Oh. Tell you what, that's the one that we needed to... No, both of them. I don't like either of them. Okay, and then we're going to start to pivot it back up. I'm not going to bring it all the way back up, but we're going to try and give it a little sense of, I want it to kind of have like a wobble to it. So bring that up. It would really be nice if you could say like, hey, I have no desire to use this during like the random stamps process. Don't give them to me. That would solve a lot of problems. All right, I'm going to flesh that out a little bit more later, but for now, let's come back over this way. We're going to go do sort of the same thing over here. Now, again, this person, what they ended up doing was they flattened everything to background. And there's a good chance that the reason that they did that was because they were trying to, paint with some broader strokes. We've got a lot of these shadows here and everything like that. So they might have gone over with a black color pattern to, to tell a little bit more of a story about what their Underdark was like. It's the Underdark. It's supposed to be dark. It's supposed to be foreboding. So having that kind of ability to paint over things, it was a little bit more difficult back in the old Inkarnate days. But now that you have the top layer brush, you can kind of do things a little differently. So this one, I'm going to curve this one up. That's going to be my indication that I'm doing that. But over here, we're actually going to expand the way that this looks. Let's grab that one. And what we might do, excuse me, let me save that. What we might do is, you can see on that other map, they actually used some of that negative space. In some cases, I think, like down here, this is like a portal, essentially, that brings you somewhere else into the map, whether it's up here or somewhere else. So this doesn't really exist in this stonework over here. But over here, you can definitely see there's been some management to, the walls and stuff like that. So we might do something like that, where whether it's... someone from the surface had built down here, or, delvers or something like that. They've used this area. We're going to do something like that. And then we're going to start to build out some of the more subterranean look of everything. We're going to try and make things feel a little bit moodier. So we'll do things like these bioluminescent mushrooms and things like that. One of the other things that I want to do is, when I kind of started to put together the idea for what I wanted of this map, I wanted to kind of take some inspiration from Tears of the Kingdom as well. I liked the corruption that you could run into in their Subterranea. So I'm going to try and see if we can kind of put a spin on that. You can see they've got like those blue bioluminescence here. I kind of want to jump off of that and have some kind of corruption that's based on that. So we'll see what we can do. The first thing that I'm going to do is head to their brush layer, and we've got this their tile set that they use, which is these blue tiles that they use, and we're going to try and just see what we have here. So we've got again, we'll get the blue tile. I think it's just blue simple tile, and it should be in the temple. Yep. And if we come down here, they had their stuff set at 32. I don't think that there was an offset. There didn't really need to be. So let's check out the color. The only thing that they really did with the color was desaturate it to make it look nice and light. Let's we'll take a look real quick at what it seems like when you don't desaturate. So not too crazy. One of the things that you'll notice is our grid definitely makes it a little bit tough. Let's see what desaturating it does. Still pretty tough. So while they didn't do anything with offsets, we will do that. So they've got a 0 and 0 offset. We're going to change ours a smidge. Ours might still be a little bit challenging because you can see they actually don't have a grid at all. As we kind of play with that in there, it doesn't quite give us a friendly kind of feel. What we might be able to do instead then is, while they used a 32 size, we could change the size of ours to better reflect what we're trying to get out of this. So if we did 25, and let's see if we offset that a little bit more. Let's do negative 9.2 both directions. Not quite. So each one of these tiles is going to be roughly 2.5 feet once we get to a point where it fills in the entirety of the tile that we're playing with. So if we do that, that doesn't quite do what we want to do. So we're going to change the size even further. Let's change it to 20. That should be good. We just have to get the offset right. We might even be able to go back to 0. I don't know. We'll have to play with it a little bit. Yeah, that's perfect. So 0 is the way to go. Now, again, each one of these tiles is going to be a 2.5 square tile. So we've got the individual grid lines and everything that we'll be able to use to a little bit of a better effect. But here at this point, we should be able to go back to our brush and then start to draw this out a little bit. And again, over on theirs, this is a much darker kind of look. We've got, again, the color. We've got the color scheme where we've got a hue of 0, a saturation of 40, brightness or brightness contrast 100. I think softness and opacity, there's nothing really crazy there. Although you can see even from up here, things aren't quite the way that they have it on theirs. This is a lot of a brighter look compared to this. So we've got this. Let's come back in here one more time. They're blue simple tiles, and I think it's the same thing for them. They've got, yep, down here, blue simple tiles 1. So they're taking it out of the fantasy battle map. I think it could be that this was like beta stuff. So like we're going way back here at this point. Let's try and on ours, we got blue simple tiles, blue elaborate tiles. We're gonna do a little bit different. So we're gonna take the brightness down a little bit. Might even take it down a little bit further. There you go. I actually really like that. And again, like I said, they on their map they did something a little bit different to make what they're using pop a little bit. So we're going to play around with things, see what we can do. They also, if we take a step out, they've got, again, a more natural kind of looking ground type over here. I don't believe that it's this one here. As you'll see, if we start to paint over that, that really doesn't have the same feeling at all. It's very likely to be this one. And I think they probably painted over it. Because we've got, I think that's water of some sort. Yeah, it's water. This was just dirt that was recolored. But I think this one's our magic. This one is dark gray ground, which we've seen plenty of times before. So let's head back to ours and let's see if we can't find dark gray ground. Now again, probably going to have to change the color scheme and everything like that. What we're going to do is have that start to kind of reclaim the tiles. We're going to have to change the size of things. So we've got, again, for our placement, we've got 20 and, is that accurate? Yeah, because we don't have any of the offset or anything. So we're going to come here, we're going to bring that down to 20. Let's change the color to reflect things a little bit. Here we have the hue completely unchanged, but the saturation was 40 and the brightness was 60. Let's try and duplicate that feel to see if it comes across the right way. I think that that's going to tell a good story. I think that the color scheme that we have and everything, that's pretty good. I don't know that I'm going to be as abrupt with those changes, because what we might do is we'll bring the saturation layer to about half and we'll start to kind of reclaim some of this area. And then that'll look like over time it's given way to, like, the regular elements and things like that. So you can see a little bit of, where the tiles had ended up at one point. Now we might end up kind of coloring those in again as we go. We're going to bring the saturation all the way back up. At least for now, what we're going to do is fill in the rest of this area, so that we have a good sense of what everything's supposed to look like. If over here on the east side we end up breaking this open and making a room or something like that, that's where we might end up bringing the tiles back into play. And it's very possible that we're going to go the same route that this person did, where they brought everything to the background layer and painted over some of it for some more details. We very well might do that kind of thing, so we'll have to play with it, see what we like. A lot of what we're going to do tonight, just because I'm a little bit on the sleepy side, is test and experiment. I've never done a fully underground map before. We've done like the mines. I've done a couple of those before, but this is very particular in that it's a nice juxtaposition of like mason work and just using whatever natural ground is available to whatever crafts people you have. So let's look at some mushrooms. Don't really have a lot of fun mushrooms that they used, to the best of my knowledge. It looks like they've got the forest mushrooms. Let's see if there's anything. If I do bio, yeah, not a lot of. We've got the giant mushroom, which I want to be in the stamps. So their stamps don't really give you anything to go off of, but let's do this. Let's go. if we go and grab one of these giant mushrooms, I have a feeling that is very likely what they used. So let's mess with the hue real quick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the way to go to get something that looks a little bit like theirs. Don't want to mess with the saturation too much. I want to try and get it similar. I like the color blue that they used. But I don't want to oversaturate or anything like that. Let's mess with... We've got the brightness and maybe the contrast. I think part of it too is they've got a light that kind of brings out some of this stuff a little bit. So let's look at these lights and see if we find anything that feels like it's in the same spot. A lot of lights. I think there's like 45 of them. My poor computer is having a conniption. All right, here's what we're going to do. Right? So now if I'm grabbing this, I think it's just this blue light. So to give it a little bit more oomph, what I would be able to do is throw that on top of my mushroom, and that's what gives it that blue light. So with that in mind, I think that's not going to play nice with me. Let's close that one more time. Yeah, I don't think that it gives you anything. So the person who is messing with these lights, they did it on their own. So we've got right here. Yeah, you can see the hue was changed a little bit. So let's see if we can't do something similar. So we've got our giant mushroom. Let's grab that one. I like that one. And we're probably going to change the size of this because, you know, it's a giant mushroom for them. I do hate mushrooms, but I like making art out of things. So it's a worthy sacrifice. So right here, we've got the negative 158, 115. Okay, and then what we're going to do is, excuse me, we're going to cough. Let's grab a light real quick. So I think it's probably just one of these ones. They did, for their light, it's an orange light. I don't believe that I'm using an orange light, so let's do that. Yep. So it's this big ass one right here. Pardon my language. And they changed their hue to 165. And a brightness of 138. Now right now, this looks a little bit much, and that might be because I changed the size of the mushroom as well. Not quite as powerful when it's a giant mushroom. So what we can do to combat that is we can change both of them so it's not an overpowering glow or anything like that. Now, as I said before, one of the things that I want to try and do with this map is kind of play with the idea of corruption. So I think what we're going to do is use the the mushrooms as kind of like an indication of where that kind of thing would be. So let's see if we can't find anything to be our corruption. We've got obsidian, which it might do the job. We've got black marble. Let's see if we can't use something like this fey grass to kind of do what we want. So if I did something like this, the purple obviously doesn't do what we want it to. We can mess with the hue a little bit. So now we've got kind of a darker green. And then what we'll do is, let's mess with the brightness a couple of times, see what we can do there. Maybe desaturate it a little bit as well. Kind of at that point disappears into the floor a little bit. That doesn't look terrible. And what we'll end up doing is, in a couple of strategic places, we're going to... I actually don't mind that. I feel like... What if we did... I don't know. I have to kind of play with it a little bit more in random spots. We certainly lose some of it over there. I think we ended up coloring over it a couple times. Let's do... What is the deal with that? Why did we end up losing some of it over here? Over here it definitely gets darker, and then over... Oh, you know what it is? It's because there's just naturally some lightness. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't do me any good because I want everything to have that look over there. So, with that in mind, it's not to say that we can't do that. We just have to do an offset to better reflect the placement. So like if we were trying to do something over here as well, we would have to do a horizontal offset. Let's play right around there. Let's see. It's a shame that you can't like take bits and pieces of the brush to make your move as you need to. Well, we at least have a good sense of where we can put things. Let's clean things up a little bit more. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I really need to get rid of some of these. Nope. There you go. Fill some of that in again. I don't really need that star look. We'll do something like this. The good news is we know how we're going to kind of get this look across. And again, like I said, what we'll do is in a couple of these strategic spots, we'll do more mushrooms that are bioluminescent. Something like that. And let's grab... Really? There we go. Something like that. Let's grab a little bit more of the darker area over here and fill it in a little bit more. Let's take it as far as we can while it doesn't do kind of like that bluish look. So we know that we can come about that far. And pretty much anywhere that you see that the green spots, that's where we're going to put some of our bioluminescent mushrooms. And I'm not going to use these ones for that color, or for that, yeah, we won't use these ones for that color. We're going to use a different one for that to kind of tell that story. No means no. Just little clusters of mushrooms and stuff like that. So again, just kind of experimenting with what that looks like. The problem is we lose the light. So what we'll have to do is copy that accordingly and move it into place. On top of some of these mushroom clusters. A tiny little baby one over here. All right, again, the idea is, at least in this kind of like introductory spot of the Everdark, we want to let the players kind of happen upon things like this, realize that it's a hazard. I don't want it to make it so that it's right off the bat something that's insurmountable to them. Let's save. And then we'll start to think about, at least down here, maybe we'll do some of those other terrain. Let's go to cliffs again. I think cliff is what they're called. So we've got the obsidian walls, we've got the gothic horror stuff, we've got the terrain. So I think this is what we're going to end up using. So we're going to turn off the clip mask. That should give us that gray look that we want. And then, ooh, what do I got going on over there? We're most likely going to end up changing the color to better reflect what we're going with. So here we had -180 and 45. Let's change this one and see what we get. Doesn't do too much, but it definitely helps us. Do we change the brightness to these as well? You jerk. Saturation and brightness were both changed. We didn't really get too much out of that, but so now we have that. We should be able to grab the next one, and we're definitely going to have to keep on turning off the clip mask. But the good news is that now that we have everything, we should be able to kind of stack them up and again, tell an interesting story with what we have. So one of the things that you'll notice that they did was, once we let this load again, they did multi-layers of that. So they built up and back to show that's a more precarious drop than just, 2 feet or something like that. So let's try, and we'll see if we can do something like that too. We'll make it multi-layer. can tell my voice is already starting to go today. Too much talking yesterday, evidently, is what does it. Okay, we'll use this one to kind of like sharply bring things back. Actually, we'll do it more like this. And that might be where it's fun to bring this area down to. So if we start to bring this down into this area, that could be where that terminates, and just kind of helps us tell whatever story we want to tell. Now over here, I'm going to have this be kind of the entrance to that lower level without having to climb down or anything. We have these stairs that we can use for inspiration, and they did some cool stuff with the torches and everything. I don't know necessarily that we're going to do the torches. I think the bioluminescent mushrooms are going to be like the real focal point here. Let's see if we can't find stairs that maybe we can turn to rubble or something like that. Got these brick stairs. Something like this might actually do nicely if we change the color scheme. 180, desaturate, turn the brightness down. Definitely change the size. So right there, I feel like that's not a stairs going down. I feel like it's stairs going up. But we might be able to play with it as we go to tell what we want to with it. So it's not going to be width, it's going to be height. Nope, I lied. We'll see if I can pull it off with that. Again, we have a little bit of work to do to get that to where we want it to. Let's keep going with this stuff so we can tell that it's a more precipitous drop than that. I'm going to have to figure out how to clean that one up over there a little bit, but over here, we're pretty darn close. I think that at least for now, with what we've been doing with practicing things out, I'll leave it at that for now. We're going to kind of reevaluate this tomorrow because this is our weekly map for this week. We'll try and see what else we can do to kind of add a little bit of pizzazz and stuff like that. And I'll just keep on reviewing other people's work and seeing if we can continue to make a little bit of magic here. And we'll see what we can get. So I'm going to save this one more time. Let's head over to the closing the show scene. If I can, if it'll let me. So folks, on the on the screen right now, you should see all the places that you can find my content. You can go to Tellest.com for all things Tellest. Everything that we do on there usually has a link on the sidebars, or if you scroll down, you get a little bit of information. On Patreon.com/Tellest, that's where you can find all of these battle maps when they're done, including the variants and the high-res versions of the maps. If you want to see some of these maps that I make and the Talking Tellest videos that I make, even after Twitch sends them to the the live stream graveyard, you can find that on youtube.com/@worldofTellest. Of course, if you do want to see these live, the only place to do that is on twitch.tv/thattellestguy. If you want to see any of our live products, so not just digital, but awesome mouse pads, battle maps, Weird Witch wands, you can find all that stuff on tellest.etsy.com. And you can also find a couple of our TikTok channels. We've got Tales of Tellest, that's Tails of Tellest, if you want to see our dogs. And if you want to see Rihanna's awesome wands, you can go to TikTok's Weird Witch Wands. It's WYRD Witch Wands, witch like a pointy hat wearing witch. But that'll wrap us up for today. Like I said, kind of tired. You can hear it in my voice. It's starting to go. So I don't want to push that farther than I need to. But we'll wrap that up for today, and I will see everybody tomorrow. So thank you very much. I'll miss you.